Hello, LGBTQ plus DL men, women who secretly love us and support us. And if you don't identify with those labels, you're still free to subscribe to the channel. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Yes, so this video is a topic I think is very popular. But I am speaking from a perspective of a psychic medium. And yeah, I should first start off with this. Some people think that, or they have the idea that you can be born a homosexual. A homosexual, as Terry Jo likes to say. And I won't disagree or agree. What I can say about being gay or queer or whatever you identify as, I think that we all have different paths in life that either we are meant to experience things so that we can help a younger version of ourselves or help an older version of ourselves. And what I mean by that is that when I became spiritually aware, I realized that there is an identification that is titled the chosen one, right? And what that means is you spiritually awaken in this lifetime to escape what they call the matrix, and you become very spiritually aware. And so, with this path or this journey, there are selected beings who awaken to spirit, and there are beings who are unconscious so that they can help the beings become conscious. And we are here to experience each other. So, with that being said, right, if there's a path for beings who are conscious to become conscious, there also has to be a path for beings who identify with being gay and homosexuals and queer and all of these labels that the human race has created. There has to be a path for all of us so that we can sort of be the lighthouse for another being that may be awakening to whatever identification that they are meant to serve. So, yes, being born this way, you're born a human, having a human experience, or you're born, maybe an animal is born. everything on this Everything in this existence has a purpose, and it's for us to experience it. Therefore, it's neither right nor wrong from my perspective. So you're probably wondering, when are you going to start speaking about your coming out story? This video is a coming out about being spiritually awakened, and that happened after being openly gay, openly homosexual. When I the way that I awakened, I met what they call a twin flame. I met my twin flame. This is a journey where the other half of your soul is reflected to you through another person. So it is different from soulmates. Soulmates are one soul experiencing another soul. And what they say about twin flames is that it's the mirror soul. So it is the same soul split into two bodies experiencing itself. And one will be the feminine energy, And it doesn't have to be the body of a female. It's just the feminine energy. And one identification will be the masculine energy. And that can also be in a female body. So the energies do not have to be in the equivalent vessel. We say feminine and masculine to help beings understand the path of the journey. Now, when I met this other being, I was with a soulmate or a partner that that I was intentionally going to marry. And for any being that knows what a twin flame is, it is difficult to experience a soulmate and want a soulmate when you have met your twin flame. The journey for twins is triggering, but I wouldn't want this video to just definitely be about this journey. I would more want to shift the thought process to the awakening part. And what I want to say is that when I became aware of the twin flame journey, I was in this place of, well, what is this? Like, I continued to see the number 1111. Well, first it was my birthday, which is coming up, 10/21. Then I was seeing a foreign birthday number, and it continued to show itself. So it was my birthday, 11/11, his birthday. And so my masculine, and I often don't like to speak about him being mine, because love isn't possessive, although in some ways it is. When we speak about protection and things like that, like spirit protects you because you know you come from it, you are it. So it doesn't have to claim something that it is. Because you are it, it doesn't have to claim you. It just knows that you are it experiencing itself, right? So with this other person, we worked at the same place, and we met like I had worked there maybe 2 or 3 years prior to him starting to work there. And many twins do meet at work. After that happened, we were spending a lot of time together. And with my fiance at that time, in the past, I realized that there was communication with other parties, like with friends that he would say was his brother. But when there was a time where there was this guy in the shower, and it was just showing like the top part, like where they have like the streaks that you send through Snapchat. It was like sending pictures every day to say hello. But to me, some people think in a relationship that is sort of like cheating. But now that I've become like spiritually aware, I'm not sure that I would look at it the same way, but I know that I deserve somebody who is going to be very open in communication when it comes to things like that. Anyway, I noticed that there was this pattern of speaking to different guys when we were in a relationship, and there just started to be this distance within the connection with him. But a lot of times in twin flames experiences, when they experience each other, the twins, it kind of like shatters other counterpart connections. When you do meet your twin flame, the I'm trying to sort of describe the energy for beings who aren't aware of the journey. It is this feeling of not being able to let them go. I mean, if you think about it, if this being is the other half of your soul that you're experiencing through another body, you can't let them go because they are the carrier for your soul. And it's not about the vessel of the body, it is about the spirit that is within the body, reflecting to you what you need to be the best version of yourself. But when you meet them, because the eyes are the window to the soul, when you have that connection with them, it's just something that can't be broken. And something that I said in a comment under another Twin Flames video, that was he was asking what has been the breakthrough that I've noticed about the connection. What I can say is that the twin flame journey was always present in my life. And I had to become aware of its presence to become present. Because it was present, it was always there, and I had to become aware of it. And so when there is a twin that hasn't awakened to the experience yet, it can be triggering when you're receiving messages about this person and this person is receiving the messages, but they aren't aware that the messages are to remind them of this connection that you've had in every lifetime. Because what they say is that every lifetime you and this being will meet to experience each other. But the definite experience for twin flames is to experience them so that you can become aware of source consciousness. So after they have awakened you to spirit, it's sort of as if you've awakened to spirit only to be reminded that you're on the journey continuously. Anyway, then there are triggers to put you on this path of enlightenment. And with that, sometimes certain relationships have to they have to have an end, because your twin is going to reflect to you that you deserve better than what you're allowing yourself to receive from a person. Like they want you to be the most authentic, best version of yourself. And when you're with a person that doesn't allow that for you, then it can be what they call a tower moment to get you to understand what you truly deserve. And it's not even really a tower moment. Sometimes it can be it can come through as like triggering things to get you to accept yourself, every part of yourself, so that you can be in alignment with the highest version of yourself. And they do it without knowing. I noticed within my journey, I noticed that I was just very knowing about everything that was happening within his experience. And then as we entered separation, which we can speak about later, I noticed that those things that I was reflecting to him were then reflected to me through spirit, so I could understand how I allowed him to feel, which allowed me to truly focus on how I allowed people to experience me. So, then I admitted to my twin, this being, that I had deeper feelings that weren't, they were deeper than a friendship level feeling. I also admitted to them that they were my twin. And because your twin doesn't have to, spirit isn't, or your mirror, right? If you imagine the mirror, if the mirror could talk, it wouldn't have to tell itself that it is it. Like you wouldn't have to go to the mirror and say, "Oh, this is who I am," or "This is who I am." You know that this is who you are. If that's making sense. And so with them, it's not that you have to tell them anything. You're experiencing them so you can be the best version of yourself. And many twins may do the same thing, and you have to allow yourself to not only forgive yourself but also forgive them, because if you're trying to force them to awaken and they're not ready to awaken, then that's when spirit then reminds you that it isn't to force them. That's God's doing. And until you've actually become aware of the full meaning of the journey, you're just meant to allow the experience of them to be the experience of them. I hope that makes sense. With the dreams that I was having of them, or it wasn't the dreams that a twin can have in the beginning before they meet their twin is a body, like a body of a person, and it won't show the face, and it may be a female body of the person and it won't show the face, and it'll just be like you'll just maybe be laying in the bed with them and feeling on them, but you just don't know who the person is in the dream. That is the indicator that you're about to meet them. And that was the dream that was had while I was with this ex fiance that I'm speaking about. And from then on, the energy intensified. And with meeting him, I knew it was him. It's just this knowing that the divine feminine energy has to meeting her divine masculine. She knows that it is them. But because the divine masculine wakes up after the divine feminine, it kind of puts the divine feminine energy into wondering whether that is her twin or not. And I was almost going to say like this divine feminine, but I know for truth that my divine masculine is my divine masculine. It's just when they unintentionally, and I don't want to say that in a way that is like, oh, I'm taking up for them, but when they unintentionally deny the connection, you have to have that awareness that they just aren't awakened yet. And you have to allow yourself to be forgiving of them not being aware. Anyway, and I was hearing that like not being enough, that could be them not feeling that they are enough for the divine feminine. But anyway, I don't want to make this about the twin flame connection. I'm making this about the coming out story, right? When I realized that there was deeper feelings about my twin versus my ex fiance, I realized that there was a decision that needed to be made to have these feelings for both of these people. And some people like their cake and eat it too. You know, I understand that. But if you were with somebody have that you have love for versus somebody that you are feeling energy of being in love with, then you have to set them free. And so that's what was done. I know that I think that I said my twin's name in a dream, but I said it out loud. And my fiance was like, "What did you say?" He's like, "You know what you said." And I think he thought that I was joking. but the energy was just that intense. Yeah, so after I realized that the dreams were intense, the sexual energy between us, like even being around him, was just so intense. And when I spoke to him about this, he denied that this energy was reciprocated. He was saying that he didn't feel that energy. He didn't feel the connection when he was staring into my eyes. And to hear that was even more disheartening and emotion, you know? So, um, me knowing these things, and he admitted to liking, he said he liked pussy, right? Versus, I said, well, that doesn't mean that you don't like me, you know? And I haven't been that type of being to force a person into um, gay activities. If a person, like, I would not force a man to be homosexual if they aren't homosexual, if that makes sense. And because when you do things like that to people, what is reflected is maybe a straight man asking you, well, would you fuck a girl? Is what many men even ask. They ask gay men all the time. Well, would you f a girl? And it's like, I don't understand sometimes when men do that, because it's like, well, you know how you feel about the male anatomy. You know it's not like your go to, like, to just want it. You because a heterosexual man that knows that he likes women can easily say, "Oh, well, nah, I would never do that gay-ish," is what they say. Well, why would you ask a gay man what he would feel about a woman if he knows that he feels that way towards men? It's just a knowing that I like men. In the same way that a straight man could say, well, you should try it with a girl, a gay man could say that to a straight man. You should try it with a man. Does that not make sense? It's the reflecting. The reflecting. When I ask people questions, I often think, if I remember the question, like if it wasn't a channeled question. And channeling, when you channel energy, it comes from the divine, so you just allow it to flow as it's needed, right? But what I'm saying is, if I can remember the question, a lot of times I will reflect back to the question and ask myself, well, do I need that for my own healing? And I've always said that women are beautiful, men are beautiful, but there has to be that connection of wanting them. And a lot of people are in this energy of wanting people for, um, surface level things. Like what the vessel looks like. Do they got a thick ass? They got a big dick? The pussy wet? The pussy cat wet? Or it's, it got that grip to it. So, anyway, let's get back to the subject of what we were speaking about. when he when I said disheartening, it was, I think the word would be like devastating, because it was kind of difficult to understand why spirit would allow me to receive this information from it about this person, saying that this person was my divine masculine, this person was my divine counterpart, and for that person to say that they didn't feel that way, it didn't make sense. And that's also because I hadn't fully awakened to the purpose of the journey yet. And so now I have a different um, perspective of what I feel about the journey. And I also realized that sometimes when a person is denying, it's because it is actual truth for them that they haven't allowed themselves to accept. And regardless of not receiving the validation of that from him, I have accepted it is being truth for me. And that has been like ultimate healing, allowing myself to receive it as truth. And earlier, I felt the phlegm just like remove itself. So that also allows me to understand that my throat chakra is being unblocked. Because a lot of times when we don't speak about these things, it can cause blockages in our own experience if we're not allowing ourselves to fully accept the truth. And accepting the truth is knowing that it doesn't have to be truth for them, it has to be truth for you. And that is self love. That's a part of self love. So when he spoke this, I well, let's speak about the part where I end up leaving the ex fiance, the house, the two TVs, the bed, all of the things were at the house. And then I started staying with a best friend who was a coworker. And a lot of people that I've been referring to as best friend, I don't have communication with them, and that's a whole nother story. Um, the red phone was lost in the hospital, and yeah. Anyway, don't have connections to those people. I still refer to them as like best friends or friends or co-workers so that people can understand the story. But with this best friend, stayed with him in his apartment, quit my job at Amazon. Also, you know, I was awakening, so I was like, well, if we're light workers, we shouldn't have to work 9 to 5s. And so I thought that the perfect thing to do was just quit both of our jobs. So we quit both of our jobs. Then we didn't have the financial stabilities to support ourselves. He was making some money, but it wasn't enough to like help with my my personal stability. And I know that it was kind of like what do they call it, a burden to him to have his friend staying with him that quit both of his jobs and was then sleeping on his couch and asking for food and things like that. And so I realized that um, in that time, my twin wasn't really having communication with me, although I had told him that I had left this this ex fiance. So I realized, well, why is God showing me that they're my person? And the signs just continued. And like I said, now I have accepted the truth, but then I didn't know it. So, um, friend got evicted, and when my friend was going to travel to OKC, Oklahoma, to stay with another friend or to visit another best friend who stayed where we were in the city that we were, um, I told my friend to uh, to go ahead to go to OKC to go ahead and go to Oklahoma is what I'm saying. And so because I told him that for the reason that when I was getting ready to enter the vehicle, the heart palpitations were so strong. And I didn't know if it was because the dog was very frantic, but I had this just intuitive knowing that you're not meant to go with them to Oklahoma. So I stayed behind at the hotel where me and this best friend were staying, and I called my twin flame to pick me up. He then took me to his, well, prior to that, I had went to his house like right before we were getting ready to leave, because I was definitely getting ready to leave, but I wanted to tell him goodbye, which it was kind of like no point in even saying that. But it was purposeful. Anyway, um, because then I was the chaser at that point, because I was wanting him to understand, like, oh, I'm not trying to leave and things like that. Anyway, I realized that, um, you know, he was still involved with some soulmates or female friends, and I think that it was also to prove, like, to show to me that he was, um, heterosexual or whatever. But anyway, I stayed with him and his mom in the apartment. Well, more of his mom in the apartment that they stayed in, or townhouse. And we stayed I stayed there for maybe three months, and because I didn't have a job, it just felt as if people were viewing me as like, well, you don't have a job, you can't just stay with people for free. And that's how it made me feel. It made me feel like, oh, you can't stay with people, without having a job. It's what it made me feel. But at the same time, spirit was wanting me to understand the connection and to see that he wasn't ready to experience me, and also that he wasn't deserving of my energy or my time. And that's what I was there for. And also there were things that I needed to experience for myself, because also I was in this place of trying to get everybody to accept the journey instead of allowing myself to accept it as being my journey. Anyway, I after three months or 4 months, his mom was saying that uh, there was a family member coming to stay with them, which I'm not sure if it was true or not. But anyway, when when I was getting ready to leave, and she was driving me home, well, back to my family's house, which is 30 minutes or 40 minutes away from his uh, his mom's townhouse or apartment, there was a girl in his car, and so that was another sign of like, oh, well, he just, you know, he's with this soulmate, and I really had to accept that he's with the soulmate. And so, that was, it's like tears forming, but I think that I thought that I've accepted this, but I've realized that, to experience that, it's like, wow. But I know that when a twin does that to themselves, because I'm his soul, that is reflected to him somehow in his journey. So, although, you don't want them to hurt, you want to tell them, like, hey, you're experiencing this because you allowed yourself to experience you in that way. So it's reciprocated to you because you've done it to yourself, which is me in this other body. But because you're not allowing yourself to awaken to the journey, you don't understand that. Anyway, uh, seeing that was just kind of like the icing on the cake, but at the same time, I couldn't allow myself to let go of him. Um, like the physical, the being together physically in union, but that's why the separation has to happen, so that you can let go of the physical aspect of them, so you can experience them spiritually, so that when you both start having the spiritual connection with each other, you understand that there is no need for you to be separated in the 5D or the 3D. And there's no true twin flame separation, because you are the same soul, okay? Yeah. Anyway, bitch, let me tell you. So then I got home, and I was speaking to people about the experience with them, and I revealed something about them that was very personal, and I also did it on my YouTube page, on the old YouTube page, and it was very personal. And when I revealed this information, that's kind of also what triggered us to have this. I'm not sure of how to explain it. I just know that I think I have forgiven myself for it, because my intention on revealing this information was to show people that regardless of what this being is experiencing, I would love them unconditionally regardless of the experience that they're having. But I had to understand allowing myself to experience that love for myself, like knowing that I didn't have a job, um, and I had quit my job, in 2019, left my fiance and didn't have a lot of clothes. I had to allow myself to understand that there were people that were going to love me regardless of how I appeared in this 3D experience. And now, now that I've gotten more clothes, but no, let's go back to the part where I went back to my family's home, which is where I'm at now, just in a different house that is the family's house, right? I was telling my some of my family members about the journey, and not many people understand that it's a divine connection that just can't be broken. And so many beings that are unconscious will tell you, "Oh, just let it go. Just let them go. Lead them, girl. Bye." But when those messages start coming and it's a daily reminder and it's a daily feeling of feeling them energetically and uh, feeling the sexual energy from 40 miles apart or wherever they are and having the dreams about them, is something that you realize that you can't let go. And it's something that you realize you have to experience for yourself. And that's what makes this journey so important for you to become aware of, so that you can help other beings that are struggling, maybe like you did. Anyway, when I told these family members and I started understanding presence and what it meant to be present, my idea of presence was non-communication and sitting still in presence. And at some point, my family, I also was understanding that in order to be present, there is nothing from the past that's in presence, and there's nothing from the future that's in presence, but there's also divine timing, which is all of those things in one. But at that time, I didn't understand that. So, having these experiences also allowed me to become spiritually enlightened. Now, when I was, what do they call it? Nonverbal with my family, and it wasn't that I was actually nonverbal. It was more of me being present with them, and they didn't understand presence. They didn't understand that they were reflecting to me their inner traumas and things like that, and inner feelings. And some of these things are generational, and that's why presence is needed. So, me experiencing them and them having these experiences, they experience me as the person that's like, "Oh, you're the crazy person because you're not saying anything," and stuff like that. But I'm aware of what you're saying. I'm aware of this experience and this connection that we're having. So for them, they just didn't understand. They called the EMS to come see why to see if I was having some type of mental experience, and so they tried to prescribe some type of medication because I've previously had been prescribed like Zoloft and the medications for like depressive things and stuff like that. But I think to the mind can create things that just aren't true. And becoming present allows you to become aware of your thought patterns that aren't true. Because in presence, there is nothing but what is happening right now.